man lived a quiet life, far away from cities, noise, and people. His small house stood near a wide wasteland where the land looked empty and endless. He worked long hours in a remote area and returned home late every night. Solitude was normal for him, and silence felt safer than crowds. That night was colder than usual. The wind moved slowly across the dry ground, making soft sounds that felt almost like whispers. The sky was dark, with no moon, only scattered stars watching from above. As he walked back from work, his boots crunching against gravel and sand, he felt something strange in the air. It was not fear, but a quiet pressure, like the world was holding its breath. He told himself it was nothing. Long days and tired minds often created strange thoughts. He kept walking, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes focused on the narrow path ahead. Then he heard it, a sound that did not belong to the wind or the land. A sharp, heavy impact, like something falling from a great height. The ground trembled slightly beneath his feet. He stopped walking at once, his heart beating faster. For a moment, he considered ignoring it. People who lived alone learned to mind their own business. But the sound had come too close, and it sounded wrong. Slowly, he moved toward the direction it came from. The wasteland opened into a rough clearing filled with broken stones and dead trees. The cold air felt thicker here, heavier. Then he saw her. A young girl lay on the ground, motionless, surrounded by disturbed earth. At first glance, she looked human, small, fragile, and alone. But as he stepped closer, he saw the truth. Her skin carried a faint silver tone under the starlight. Her blood, visible through torn fabric, glowed softly with a blue color. Her eyes opened slightly, revealing pupils shaped unlike any human eyes he had ever seen. He froze in shock. Every instinct told him to run. This was not something any normal man should see. She tried to move, but her body failed her. Deep wounds covered her side and back, burns and marks that looked nothing like human weapons. Her breathing was weak and uneven. She was dying. Fear tightened his chest, but another feeling pushed through it, stronger than logic. He could not leave her there. As he knelt beside her, she suddenly grabbed his sleeve with trembling fingers. Her grip was weak, but desperate. Her lips moved slowly as she forced out a few words in broken human speech. "They will not stop until I am dead." Her voice was filled with exhaustion and terror. Before he could ask who they were, her eyes rolled back and her hand fell away. She collapsed completely into unconsciousness. He stood there, staring down at her, his mind racing. Aliens were stories, movies, and rumors, not something bleeding in the dirt before him. Helping her could destroy his life. Leaving her would end hers. He made his choice. Carefully, he lifted her into his arms, surprised by how light she felt. Her body was warm despite the cold night. Each step back toward his house felt heavier than the last. He knew, deep inside, that nothing would ever be simple again. When he reached his home, he locked the door and laid her on his old couch. He cleaned her wounds the best he could, using water, cloth, and shaking hands. The injuries did not close like human wounds, but the bleeding slowly slowed. She remained unconscious, silent and still. He sat nearby, watching her chest rise and fall. Questions filled his mind. Who was she? What was chasing her? And why had she come to Earth? If you enjoy deep sci-fi stories like this, consider subscribing to the channel, so you do not miss what comes next. Hours passed, and the night grew even quieter. Then he noticed it. Through his window, far beyond the wasteland, the sky flashed with distant lights. Not lightning, not stars. Bright, controlled pulses moving slowly across the darkness. He felt a chill run through his body. Whatever she was running from had not stayed far behind. As he looked back at the unconscious alien girl, one truth settled heavily in his chest. Saving her was not just an act of kindness. It was the beginning of something far bigger than him. He did not know that saving her would place Earth on the edge of a galactic war. Morning arrived slowly, bringing pale light through the small window of the house. The man had not slept at all. He sat in a chair near the couch, watching the strange girl carefully. Every sound made him tense. Every movement of her chest caught his attention. As the light grew stronger, he noticed something impossible. Her wounds were changing. The deep burns on her side were no longer bleeding. Thin lines of light moved beneath her skin, like soft streams of energy. The torn flesh slowly closed itself, not fast, but steady and controlled. He leaned closer, holding his breath. This was not healing. This was technology. Something far beyond anything humans had built. A soft sound escaped her lips. Her fingers twitched, then curled slightly. Moments later, her eyes opened. He stepped back at once, his heart pounding. Her eyes were fully open now, glowing faintly in the morning light. They focused on him with sharp awareness, not fear. She looked confused, but alert. "You are safe," he said quietly, unsure if she could understand. The words felt small compared to the situation. To his shock, she responded. Her voice was weak, but clear. "You brought me here," she said slowly. Her accent was strange, but the language was perfect. He stared at her in disbelief. "You speak English," he said. She nodded slightly. "I learned it during my escape," she replied. "We learn quickly." She tried to sit up, but he gently stopped her. "You are injured," he said. She looked down at her body, then back at him. "Yes," she answered, "but I am healing." There was a pause, heavy and uncomfortable. Then she spoke again. "My name is Lyra." The name sounded simple, almost human. He repeated it quietly. "I'm glad you're alive, Lyra." Her eyes studied his face carefully, as if searching for something. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "Your species usually runs." He hesitated, then answered honestly. "Because you were dying." That answer seemed to confuse her more than anything else. She frowned slightly, trying to understand. "In my world," she said, "kindness is rarely free." Slowly, she explained who she was. She was not just a traveler. She belonged to an ancient and respected race among the stars, a peaceful species, known for knowledge and balance, but powerful enough that others feared them. More than that, she carried royal blood. Not a queen yet, but someone important, someone worth capturing, using, or destroying. Another alien faction wanted her alive, not for peace, but for control. They believed her bloodline could unlock weapons, systems, and authority. She had escaped during a transfer, injured and hunted across space. Then she said the words that made his stomach sink. "Your planet is no longer hidden." He felt cold, despite the rising sun. "What do you mean?" he asked. "When I entered your atmosphere," she explained, "Earth appeared on the galactic map. Many eyes can see it now." The room felt smaller, tighter. He realized the truth in painful clarity. Helping her had not only saved her life, it had exposed his entire world. His simple act had consequences far beyond him, beyond borders, nations, and armies. This was bigger than any one human. She watched his reaction closely. "I expected anger," she said quietly. "Fear." Instead, he was silent, trying to understand the weight of it all. He had not asked for this, but it had arrived anyway. "What happens now?" he asked. Before she could answer, the house shook slightly. A low vibration rolled through the ground, subtle but unmistakable. Dust fell from the ceiling. The light outside dimmed unnaturally. Lyra's expression changed instantly. Fear crossed her face for the first time since waking. The sky outside the window darkened, as if something massive moved between Earth and the sun. The vibration grew stronger, closer. More controlled, more deliberate. She reached out and grabbed his arm, her grip tight despite her injuries. Her voice dropped to a whisper, filled with certainty and dread. "They have found us." Morning light struggled to reach the ground. The sky looked heavy, darkened by something vast hanging above the clouds. The man stood near the door, listening to the deep vibration rolling through the land. Each pulse felt measured, controlled, and intentional. Lyra stood beside him now, weak but steady. Her eyes were fixed on the ceiling, as if she could see through it. "They are waiting," she said quietly. A sharp metallic sound echoed outside. Footsteps, not human, moving in perfect rhythm. The vibration stopped suddenly, replaced by an unnatural silence. The man reached for the door handle. His hand trembled, but his grip did not loosen. If this moment was coming, he would face it standing. He opened the door. The sight before him stole his breath. Dozens of alien soldiers stood across the open ground, forming a wide arc around his home. They were tall, armored in dark metal that reflected no light. Their helmets were smooth and faceless, their weapons already aimed forward. Above them, massive alien ships hovered in the sky. Their shapes blocked the sun, casting long shadows over the land. Energy hummed through the air, powerful and threatening. One alien stepped forward, larger than the rest. His armor was marked with glowing symbols. When he spoke, his voice was amplified, deep and cold. "Return what you stole." The words were clear, direct, and without emotion. The man stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "She is not stolen," he replied calmly. "She is a guest." A ripple moved through the alien ranks. Weapons shifted slightly, as if unsure how to respond. They had expected fear, panic, surrender. They did not expect refusal. The commander tilted his head slightly, studying the man. "You are human," he said. "You do not have the authority to refuse us." "I have authority over my home," the man answered, "and anyone inside it." The alien soldiers reacted instantly. Shock spread through their formation. A single human, unarmed, standing alone, had just challenged them. Then Lyra stepped forward. She moved slowly, supported by the doorframe. Her presence changed everything. The soldiers recognized her at once. Weapons lowered just a fraction. Murmurs passed between them through silent communication. The commander stiffened, his posture tightening. "She is under human protection," the man said firmly. "You will not take her." The commander's voice hardened. "Your protection is meaningless. Your planet is fragile. One command from me could turn this land to ash." The man did not raise his voice. "You still do not enter my home without permission," he said. The silence that followed was unbearable. The alien commander stared at him, calculating. This was not how humans were supposed to behave. Lyra watched the exchange, confusion mixing with awe. Humans were weak compared to galactic powers. Yet this one stood like an immovable wall. "You are risking your entire species," the commander warned. "Step aside." The man shook his head slowly. "No." The commander lifted one armored hand. The sky responded. The alien ships above began to glow with rising energy. Low hums turned into sharp, rising tones. The ground beneath the house vibrated again, stronger this time. Dust lifted into the air. The land itself seemed to brace for impact. Lyra grabbed the man's arm, fear flashing across her face. "They will destroy everything," she whispered. He did not move. "If they do," he replied quietly, "then they will do it knowing why." The alien commander's voice echoed one final time. Final warning. Above them, the ship's weapons charged fully. Light gathered at their cores, bright and deadly. The sky trembled, holding the fate of Earth in its silence. One wrong move could end humanity. The alien ships remained frozen in the sky, weapons glowing but silent. The man stood unmoving at the door, his body tense but his eyes calm. Lyra slowly turned toward him, her expression filled with disbelief and confusion. "You do not understand how this looks to them," she said quietly. "In the galaxy, humans are seen as small, physically weak, technologically behind. A species expected to kneel the moment fear appears." She looked past him at the alien army. "They believe you will step aside. They believe fear will break you." The man did not look away from the commander. "Then they do not know us," he replied. The alien commander listened carefully now. Curiosity had replaced certainty. "Explain," the commander demanded. The man took a slow breath. "We are not strong because of our weapons," he said. "We are strong because we do not abandon our own." He spoke calmly, but every word carried weight. "Throughout our history," he continued, "humans have faced stronger enemies. Empires, machines, forces we had no right surviving. We lost cities. We lost millions. But we never surrendered our people." Lyra listened closely, her eyes fixed on him. She searched his face for fear. For regret, she found none. The ground suddenly shook again, this time from a different direction. A sharp mechanical roar echoed across the land. From the horizon, human aircraft appeared, fighter jets cutting through the darkened sky. Behind them came armored vehicles and troops, moving fast, forming lines between the house and the alien army. The Earth military had arrived. They were small compared to the alien ships. Their weapons looked primitive, outdated, but they did not retreat. They took defensive positions, forming a protective barrier. The alien commander stared in disbelief. "These forces cannot harm us," he said. "Why do they stand?" Lyra's breath caught in her chest. "They are protecting," she whispered, "not attacking." Human soldiers raised their weapons, not firing. Their stance was clear. They would not strike first, but they would not move aside either. The alien commander hesitated. This was not in the data. Humans were not supposed to act this way. Lyra felt something shift inside her. In the galaxy, danger was measured by firepower, but humans carried a different kind of threat. Emotion, attachment, a willingness to sacrifice everything for a single life. They are emotionally dangerous, she realized. They will burn their own world before they hand someone over. The commander opened a communication channel. "You challenge a superior force," he said. "This is illogical." The man answered without hesitation. Protecting someone is never illogical. For the first time, the alien commander showed uncertainty. This was no longer a simple retrieval. This was becoming a statement. Silence stretched between both sides. Then the commander made a decision. "Execute a test strike," he ordered. High above, one alien ship shifted position. Energy condensed at its core, brighter than before. The sky itself seemed to pull away from the light. Human forces did not retreat. They tightened formation, prepared for impact. Across the galaxy, unseen observers watched, expecting humans to break, to scatter, to kneel. What happened next would shock them all. The test strike came without warning. A single beam of light dropped from the hovering ship, cutting through the air like fire. It struck the open land far from the house, tearing the ground apart in a violent flash. The shock wave rolled outward, throwing dust, rocks, and debris into the sky. Human forces reacted instantly. Vehicles were pushed aside, alarms screamed, and soldiers were knocked off their feet. Several human defenses were destroyed in seconds. Smoke and fire filled the air. Yet no one ran. No order of retreat was given. The human line broke, but it did not collapse. The man pulled Lyra back into the house, shielding her with his own body as another blast hit nearby. The walls shook violently, glass shattered, and the ceiling cracked. He wrapped his arms around her, forcing her down to the floor. Outside, humans regrouped. Injured soldiers were dragged to safety. Others stepped forward to replace them without hesitation. Every loss tightened their formation instead of weakening it. Lyra watched through the broken doorway, her breath shaking. "They are dying because of me," she whispered. Her hands trembled as she looked at the man. "This is my fault." Another blast hit the ground closer this time. The heat washed over the house like a burning wind. Human weapons fired back, weak compared to alien firepower, but relentless. They were not trying to win. They were trying to protect. Lyra turned fully toward the man, her eyes filled with pain and guilt. "This can stop," she said urgently. "If I surrender, they will leave your world." He stared at her in disbelief. "No," he said immediately. "They want me," she continued, her voice breaking. "My bloodline gives them control they should never have. One life for billions. It is the logical choice." The man shook his head slowly, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "One life is not a price we trade." Lyra froze. In her entire existence, no one had ever said that. Empires had fallen for less. Species had been sacrificed for peace. "You do not understand," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "You will lose everything." He looked at her firmly. "We already decided who we are," he replied. "We do not survive by becoming monsters." Outside, another human vehicle exploded under alien fire. The sound echoed like thunder. Lyra covered her ears, her body shaking as reality finally broke through her strength. She fell to her knees, overwhelmed. "I never wanted this," she cried. "I never wanted your world to suffer for me." The man knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Neither did we," he said. "But suffering does not give anyone the right to take you." Something inside Lyra shattered. All her life, power had defined worth. Strength decided survival. Yet here stood a species willing to bleed, burn, and die for a stranger. She realized then what made humans dangerous. Not their weapons, not their numbers, but their refusal to abandon a single life once it was under their protection. The alien commander watched the battlefield with growing frustration. Humans were falling, yet they refused to yield. Their resistance made no strategic sense. Then the energy around Lyra began to change. A soft hum filled the room, growing louder with each second. Light spread beneath her skin, brighter than before. The cracks in the walls vibrated as the air itself responded to her presence. The man looked at her in shock. "What is happening?" he asked. She raised her head slowly, tears still falling, but her eyes now glowing with controlled intensity. "I did not tell you everything," she said. The ground outside began to tremble harder than ever. Alien sensors spiked across the fleet. Unknown energy readings spread rapidly. "I am not just royal," Lyra continued, her voice steady now. "I am a failsafe." Power surged outward from her body in a controlled wave, bending light and sound. The alien ships adjusted position urgently. For the first time, fear entered their calculations. Across the galaxy, observers leaned forward in disbelief. They had misjudged the human. They had misjudged the girl he protected. The galaxy underestimated both of them. The light around Lyra grew stronger, spreading like a living presence. The air inside the house vibrated gently, then powerfully. The man shielded his eyes as the glow filled every corner of the room. Outside, human soldiers felt it too, a deep pressure that made the ground hum beneath their feet. Lyra stood slowly, no longer weak, no longer shaking. Her wounds closed completely, leaving only faint silver marks on her skin. Energy flowed around her like a controlled storm, calm but unstoppable. The alien ships reacted at once. Systems flared with warning signals. Weapons shut down automatically, unable to lock onto her. Confusion spread through the alien fleet. "She is not just a target," one alien voice transmitted in panic. "She is a key, a living symbol." Lyra lifted her hand slightly, and the sky responded. The dark clouds above parted, revealing patterns of light never seen from Earth. Signals burst outward into deep space, traveling faster than any ship. Across distant systems, watchers awakened. Ancient races, neutral councils, and silent observers turned their attention toward Earth. What they saw shocked them. A young species, weak by galactic standards, standing in open defiance of a superior force. Not for conquest, not for territory, but for one life. Lyra's voice echoed far beyond the battlefield, carried by her power. "Humans are under my protection," she declared, "and I stand under theirs." Galactic observers arrived moments later. Massive neutral vessels appeared at the edge of the sky. Not weapons platforms, but witnesses. They recorded everything. The destroyed human vehicles, the fallen soldiers, the unbroken line. The alien commander stiffened as the observers locked onto his fleet. This was no longer a private operation. Every action now carried consequences across the galaxy. Humans did not celebrate. They did not advance. They held their ground, weapons lowered slightly, protecting rather than attacking. Lyra turned toward the alien commander, her expression calm but unyielding. "You came to take," she said. "You found protectors." The commander hesitated, then lowered his head slightly. "This engagement is terminated," he announced. "All units withdraw." The alien ships powered down their weapons and slowly pulled back. The sky brightened as their shadows faded. The ground stopped trembling. Across Earth, alarms quieted. Human soldiers collapsed where they stood, exhausted but alive. They had paid a price, but they had not broken. The observers recorded one final truth. Humans were not conquerors. They did not seek dominance. They earned respect through sacrifice. As silence returned, Lyra's glow slowly faded. She turned toward the man, her eyes filled with something new, belonging. But her expression darkened as another realization settled in. Her people would call her back. They would demand her return now that Earth was visible. She looked at the sky, then at the broken land around them, at the humans who had bled for her, at the man who had refused to trade her life. "I must choose," she said softly, "between my people and this world." The man said nothing. He only nodded, knowing some choices reshaped history forever. Her decision would change history. The silence after the retreat felt unreal. The sky was clear again, blue and calm, as if nothing had happened. Burned ground, broken machines, and fallen soldiers were the only proof that Earth had nearly faced destruction. Lyra stood quietly among the humans. Her people's signal pulsed softly in her mind, calling her home. Duty, bloodline, responsibility, all pulling her away. But when she looked around, she saw humans helping the wounded. No celebration, no victory cries, only care. Hands lifting strangers, voices offering comfort, lives protecting lives. She understood then. Power had never impressed her. Weapons had never earned loyalty. But sacrifice had. Lyra stepped forward and made her choice. "I will stand with them," she said clearly. "My people will hear this decision, and they will respect it." Across the stars, the message spread quickly. A formal peace council was assembled. Ancient races listened as events were replayed. Human resistance, human loss, human refusal to surrender one life. A peace treaty followed. Not forced, not demanded, but earned. Earth was officially introduced to the galaxy, not as a threat, not as a resource, but as a protected world, a species marked by principle instead of power. The alien commander's report ended with a warning. Do not test them lightly. They do not fight for control. They fight for each other. Days later, life slowly returned to normal. The military withdrew. The wreckage was cleared, and the world moved forward, unaware how close it had come to the edge. The man returned to his quiet home, repaired walls, replaced broken windows, went back to work, back to silence. He did not seek recognition. He did not tell his story. One evening, as the sun set over the wasteland, he felt that familiar pressure in the air again. Gentle this time, calm. Lyra appeared at his door, fully healed, dressed simply. She smiled softly. "I came to say goodbye," she said. They stood together for a moment, watching the sky. "My people named your species," she continued, "a title that will never be forgotten." She looked at him, eyes warm with respect. "You are now known as the ones who protect the weak." She stepped back, light surrounding her once more. But before leaving, she added one final truth. The galaxy is watching Earth now. Not with fear, but with caution. As she vanished into the sky, the man returned inside. The house felt quiet again, but the universe no longer was. Far beyond Earth, stars shifted, plans changed. Because one species had proven something rare. Humanity was never the strongest species, but it was the only one that would fight the universe to save a single life.